Goblin launch detected.
This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. If you're looking for cards in the US, look no further, as you can use the promo code MTGMUDSTA to get you 5% off anything on the site. Or if you're in Canada like me, you can use the same promo code at Multizone to get 10% off your orders of singles. If cards aren't what you're looking for, Original Magic Art has playmats, tokens, and sweet art that you can use that same promo code to help you get 5% off your order there. If you're looking to bling out your cards, using Alter Sleeves is a great way to do so, and you can click the affiliate link in my About section to help out the channel as you make an order. And if you just want to help out the channel, you can always consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month and join the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. We've got another Rule 0 game coming at you from my basement, and I'm playing my Ramos deck, keeping a Woodland Cemetery, Shared Summons, Soul Ring, Watery Grave, Return of the Wildspeaker, Domri, Anarchobolus, and the World Tree. Max is playing Ludevic and Keskit, keeping Morbid Opportunist, Body Double, Psychosis Crawler, Frantic Search, Darkwater Catacombs, Mountain, and Thawing Glaciers. We've okayed Martin to play Tibalt the Chaotic, keeping a Spine Rock Knoll, 2 Snow-Covered Mountains, Howling Mine, Wheel of Misfortune, Great Furnace, and a Mirror Pool. Nick is playing Nymris, Una's Trickster, keeping 2 Islands, Mindstone, Solemn Simulacrum, Treasure Cruise, Sakashima's Protege, and Soul of Innistrad. I win the die roll and start us off. I draw for turn and play the World Tree, which comes in tapped, passing. Max plays a tapped Thawing Glaciers. Nick draws and plays an island. Martin plays a Great Furnace and then casts a Soul Ring and taps the Soul Ring to cast a Howling Mine. I draw and play a Command Tower and then also cast Soul Ring and pass to Max. Max plays an Underground River. Nick draws and plays a Swamp. He then casts a Mind Stone and passes. Martin casts his commander in his main phase, Tibalt the Chaotic. He upticks the Walker and randomly chooses Crack the Earth. He sacrifices Howling Mine, while I sacrifice my Command Tower. Max takes back his shortcutting and activates the Thawing Glaciers, and Nick sacrifices the Mind Stone. After all this is done, Martin passes. I draw and play a Watery Grave tapped, passing. Max plays a Mountain, and then casts a Morbid Opportunist. Nick draws and plays an Island. He casts Dimir Signet, passing to Martin. Martin draws and plays a Mountain and casts an Ambermaw Hellion before upticking Tibalt again. He casts Blazing Volley this time, which, despite doing 2 damage thanks to the Hellion, doesn't actually kill anything, and with nothing else, he passes. I draw and play a Woodland Cemetery. I then cast a Gemraiser and pass to Max. Max plays an island and then casts one of his commanders, Ludevic the Necroalchemist. He moves to combat and swings the Morbid Opportunist at Nick for 1. He gets to draw a card from Ludevic's trigger before passing turn. At the end of turn, Nick casts a Brainstorm and then moves to his own turn. Nick plays a Solemn Simulacrum to go and find a basic swamp and passes to Martin. Martin draws and plays a Mountain, forgetting he could have played a Mirror Pool earlier, and we're okay with him taking it back as long as he bounces a Mountain to his hand. He then sacrifices to make a copy of the Hellion before upticking Tibalt again and hitting Crack the Earth. He then sacrifices a Soul Ring, and I sacrifice my Watery Grave, while Max sacrifices Ludevic and Nick sacrifices Solemn. This has Nick drawing a card, and Martin then moves to combat. He swings the Hellion at Max for 5 and passes. I draw and mutate a Sawtusk Demolisher onto the Gemraiser, blowing up Tibalt and giving Martin a 3/3. I'm also forced to destroy Nick's Dimir Signet thanks to the Gemraiser, which is not a May. With nothing else, I pass. Max draws and plays a Darkwater Catacombs. Max then casts a Bone Shredder, which upon entering, destroys the token copy of the Hellion. Nick draws and casts his own Soul Ring, passing to Martin. Martin draws and plays a Spine Rock Knoll, which comes in tapped, and hides away a card underneath it. With nothing else, he passes. I draw and play a Lifecrafter's Bestiary, passing. At the end of my turn, Max casts Brainstorm. Max sacrifices the Bone Shredder to its Echo cost and then draws for turn. He plays a Port of Carfell and casts a Body Snatcher, pitching a Jin-Gitaxias Core Augur. He then casts a Skull Clamp as well and passes. At the end of turn, Nick flashes in his commander, Nymris, and we move to his turn. Nick plays a Watery Grave, which comes in untapped, and has him shocking himself for 2. Martin draws and casts a Grim Monolith and passes, and Nick takes this as an opportunity to cast Op on his end step for the Nymris trigger. I scry the top and draw Shivan Reef, which I play. With nothing else, I pass. On my end step, Nick casts the fairest intuition I've ever seen, grabbing 3 lands, and ends up putting 2 of them into his graveyard. Max untaps, draws, and plays Yawgmoth, Thran Physician, and passes to Nick. Nick draws and plays a Bojuka Bog, targeting Max's graveyard. In response, Max sacrifices the Body Snatcher to Yawgmoth to attempt to reanimate Jin-Gitaxias and shrink my Mutate pile at the same time. But Nick responds to this by countering the trigger with Tail's End. I also respond by casting Return to the Wildspeaker to draw 6 cards. Max's graveyard then gets exiled, and Nick continues with his turn by casting an Arcane Signet and passing. Martin draws and casts a Chandra's Ignition targeting his Hellion to have it deal 5 damage to everything and everyone. Max responds by sacrificing the Morbid Opportunist to Yawgmoth. He uses Yawgmoth's ability to put a -1/-1 counter onto my Sawtusk Beast, and every opponent and every other creature then takes 5. Martin then casts a Wheel of Misfortune. Everyone reveals their number, with Nick choosing 0, Max and Martin choosing 2, and I also pick 0 as well. Max and Martin wheel, and moving to combat, Martin swings the Hellion at Max for 5 and passes turn. I scry the top card to the bottom from my Lifecrafter's Bestiary trigger, and then I play a Forest. I cast a pair of Swiftfoot Boots, and once they've resolved, cast a Domri Anarchabolus, taking 1 damage from tapping for red the Shivan Reef. Max draws and plays a Graven Cairns. He casts the Book of Vile Darkness, and follows up with Keskit, putting the Skull Clamp onto his commander. Nick draws and casts a Mind's Dilation, and passes to Martin. Martin draws and promises not to Chaos Warp the Mind's Dilation if he can resolve an Atali. Nick takes the deal, and the Atali then resolves, with Mind's Dilation exiling a land. Moving to combat, Martin swings the Hellion and Domri to take him out. I scry 1 to the bottom, then draw, and play a Blood Crypt untap, taking 2. I cast Ramos, and Nick's Mind's Dilation gets Brokos Apex of Forever off the top of my library. I then equip Ramos with some boots, and pass to Max. Max plays Togo in his main phase, and Nick's Mind Dilation hits Mind's Eye, and once Nick's done casting that, Max then casts a Brain in the Jar, and plays out an Amir Aqueduct. He makes a Rock token, and equips it to Keskit before passing turn. Nick draws, and plays a Choked Estuary, revealing an island from hand. He then casts a Memory Plunder on Chandra's Ignition, targeting Brokos to deal 6 damage to everything else, and everyone else. He then swings Brokos at Martin for 6, and passes turn. Martin draws, and replays Tibalt once more, down taking him and hitting a Flame Break this time to deal 3 damage to everything and everyone. He follows up with a Grenzo Havoc Razor, and passes to me. I draw, and play an untapped Godless Shrine, taking 2, and pass to Max. Max plays a Castle Locthwain, along with an Eye of Vecna, which draws him a card and loses him 2 life. Nick gets a Mind's Dilation trigger from him casting that, and hits a Mimic Vat. Max then recasts Ludevic, and equips him with a Skull Clamp before making a zombie token from the book, and passing. Nick recasts Nymris on Max's end step, and moves to his turn. He plays an island, and then casts a body double, and has it come in as a copy of Italy, passing to Martin. Martin draws, and plays a mountain. He casts Angrath's Marauders, with the Mind's Dilation trigger getting Nick a Goblin Engineer. Moving to combat, Martin swings Grenzo at me for 4, and hits a Glowstone Recluse off the top of my library. He decides not to cast it, and upticks Tibalt, hitting a Blazing Volley, which deals 2 to all creatures he doesn't control, and this has the Goblin Engineer dying, and Nick exiles it under the Mimic Vat. Before Martin passes, I flash in a Pouncing Shore Shark, and Nick gets a Mind's Dilation trigger, exiling my Lord Dracus. I also get to pay 1 green from the Bestiary trigger to draw a card. I scry 1 to the top and draw. I mutate a Souvenir Snatcher onto the Pouncing Shore Shark, exiling a Vivian, Monster's Advocate, from the Mind's Dilation. Nick then rewinds the mutate creature, and once that's done, I follow up by trying to mutate a Volcapede onto the Pouncing Shore Shark. Nick responds again by casting Silumgar's Command to kill my Shore Shark and bounce the Angrath's Marauders to Martin's hand. With nothing else, I pass turn. Max draws and plays a Scarab God. Mind's Dilation hits a Skin Render, which comes in and takes out the Grenzo with its -1/-1 counters. With nothing else, he passes. Nick draws and goes to combat. He swings Brokos at Max and the Body Double Italy at me, and the Lord Dracus and Skin Renderer at Martin. Italy exiles a Sultai Charm, Warstorm Surge, and Cackling Counterpart. Nick casts the Warstorm Surge first, and then uses Sultai Charm to blow up Max's Skull Clamp, and then casts the Cackling Counterpart and targets the Skin Renderer. Nick uses the Warstorm Surge trigger damage and the new Skin Renderer trigger to kill the Scarab God, which before letting it die, Max responds to it by eternalizing Wonder out of Nick's graveyard, and then cycling a Fetid Pools. With the Scarab God dying, Nick exiles it to the Mimic Vat. Moving to blocks, Max double blocks Brokos, and the rest of us just take our damage. Nick then Mimic Vats the Scarab God, which he then makes a copy of, and it comes in and deals 5 to my Volcapede thanks to the Warstorm Surge. Nick then follows this up by downticking Vivian and casting Sakashima's Protégé. He cascades into a useless Sudden Spoiling, and then has it come in as a copy of the Scarab God. Nick also gets to resolve his Vivian trigger, going to find a Havengul Lich. He has it come into play, and he gets 2 Warstorm Surge triggers, using 1 to take out Tibalt, and the other deal 5 to Martin's face. Martin draws and plays a Solemn Simulacrum, with the Mind's Dilation hitting a Reforce of Souls that Nick chooses not to cast. Martin follows up with a Tome of Legends and passes turn. I draw and cast a Golgari Charm to destroy the Mind's Dilation, which as it goes, exiles a Sacred Foundry from the top of my library. With nothing else, I pass to Max. Max draws and plays a Chemister's Insight, then jumpstarts it for another 2 cards. He casts a Thirst for Knowledge to draw even more, and discards more cards before playing a Mountain and moving to his end step. At this point, Nick casts Empty the Pits, and Max responds with a Lightning Bolt to deal 3 to Nick's face to send a message. Between the Warstorm Surge triggers, the Scarab God trigger that's going to happen on Nick's turn, and the presumable combat step that will follow, we know we're all dead, and we scoop it up to Nick. Game review time. So, full disclosure, this was actually supposed to be for Halloween. You might have got some of the themes, which is Ramos changing into creatures, it's like a costume. Max had built Ludevic and Keskit as kind of a Dr. Frankenstein, Igor kind of style deck, and he was trying to play with some self-inflicted rules, like how to cast spells and in what order, having to have some kind of like research or a doctor before calling for lightning to be able to animate his creatures. Nick was playing Nymris, who's a trickster, so trick or treat, and it was kind of cool to see, not to mention that Mind's Dilation sticking around for what felt like forever, and basically helped him win the game, I think. And Martin was also playing a trick or treat deck, with Tibalt being a trick card, so that's kind of cool. I was not a big fan of losing a mana source so early on, and I can honestly say if I never have to play against this Tibalt again, it would probably be too soon. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.